This Boston Celtics team is absolutely unreal right now. People have been sleeping on Boston all season long. For half the year, people barely mention them, but if you're from Boston, you probably love that. This is a city that thrives on being doubted, on being the underdog, because while everyone was busy writing the Celtics off, this team was quietly putting together one of the most surprising campaigns in recent NBA history. Nobody saw this coming. Not the analysts, not the betting markets, not the fans of other teams who were already planning their championship parades. And now here we are, staring at a Boston Celtics squad that doesn't just look competitive, but one that can genuinely win the East. The death of the gap year narrative. Let's be honest, the gap year story made complete sense on paper. Jayson Tatum tore his Achilles during the playoffs. The roster got stripped down significantly to dodge luxury tax penalties. Over half the championship core walked out the door in the offseason. At that point, the entire basketball world basically closed the book on Boston before training camp even opened. Analysts slotted them somewhere in the 5 to 8 seed range. Competitive enough to show up, not dangerous enough to actually scare anyone. And look, that wasn't a stupid take. That was a reasonable read of the available information. When you lose that much talent and your best player is sitting in a walking boot, you pump the brakes on expectations. Any reasonable person would, but here's what every single one of those projections missed: the system. They looked at the names that left and forgot to account for the blueprint that stayed behind. Joe Mazzulla has been constructing something in Boston that fundamentally doesn't depend on any one player to keep functioning. 5-out spacing, high volume 3-point shooting, minimal turnovers, and a defensive philosophy built on staying connected and trusting the structure rather than gambling for steals or making wild rotation. The Celtics' whole thing is making you make the wrong decision. They don't beat you with chaos, they beat you with discipline. And discipline, unlike roster talent, doesn't get traded away or lost to injury. Without Tatum on the floor for the majority of the season, Boston's offense still ranked second in the entire NBA, 119.6 points per 100 possessions, without their best player. Let that sink in for a second. Their defense held at 4th in the league. That makes Boston one of only 2 teams in the NBA to rank top 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. The other team, San Antonio. Not exactly bad company. The gap year narrative assumed the Celtics were built around their veterans. What this season actually proved is that the veterans were a product of the system, not the other way around. When they left, the system didn't pack its bags and follow them out the door. It got handed to the next group of guys, and those guys ran it. Jaylen Brown stopped asking for permission.
Sidestep 3. Another one for Jaylen Brown.
Now, none of this season works without what Jaylen Brown has done. None of it. And if you've been paying attention, you already know this. But if you haven't, let me paint you a picture. 28.7 points per game, 7 rebounds, 5.3 assists. Leading the league in shot attempts. First team All-NBA is basically a formality at this point. And against the Heat recently, the man dropped 43 points, 20 of them in the first quarter alone. That's not a hot streak. That's a player who finally decided to stop being the second best player on his own team and start being the guy. But here's the thing. The raw numbers don't even tell the full story. The assist number is what matters most, and it's the thing that doesn't get enough credit. Brown has always been able to get his own bucket. That's never been the question. What he wasn't for most of his career was someone who could make an entire offense function around him, running the half-court offense with real decision-making, reading the defense, hitting the right man at the right time. That was always Tatum's department. This season, that changed. Brown became a connector, and when you have shooters and cutters of that quality moving around you, good decisions turn into good shots, almost automatically. What that development did for everyone else on the roster was massive. Peyton Pritchard could attack freely. Sam Hauser could space the floor and wait for the kickout. Jaylen was absorbing the defensive attention that Tatum used to draw, and he was distributing it correctly. The whole offense breathed differently because of it. Defensively, he leveled up too. He's taking on the opponent's best perimeter player every single night. No complaints, no load management on the defensive end, just getting to work. The version of Jaylen Brown we're watching right now is a genuinely complete basketball player, two-way clutch, and capable of absolutely dragging a team to a win when everything else goes sideways. Now, is he winning MVP? Honestly, probably not. The 4 guys ahead of him are having ridiculous years, and it's not like the voters are ignoring him. The competition at the top of the ballot is just absurdly stacked right now. But first team All-NBA is locked, and more importantly, carrying the Boston Celtics to a 2nd seed without Jayson Tatum for most of the year. That's the kind of thing that permanently changes how the league sees you.
So I'm excited I feel like I'm entering my prime, and I'm excited to maximize my potential.
Jaylen Brown is not the same player he was 2 years ago, and every front office and coaching staff in the league now knows it. The man who was supposed to be a question mark. Let's talk about Neemias Queta, because this guy has been one of the best stories of the entire NBA season, and he's not getting nearly enough shine for it. Heading into the year, the starting center position was a legitimate concern. A real, genuine, oh shit, what are we going to do question mark hanging over the entire roster construction. Queta stepped into that role and has been absolutely fantastic. 10 points points, 8.4 rebounds, 1.3 blocks per game, and shooting 65% from the field. 65. That's not a typo. Against Miami, he put up 16 points on 71% shooting, grabbed 11 rebounds, and finished with a plus 28 plus minus. Best on the team that night. The guy was everywhere. He has completely transformed the Celtics front court. The rebounding improvement that Boston has made this season, and it's a significant improvement, they're currently 6th in total rebounding percentage. The best they've ranked in years runs directly through this man. There's real rim protection now. There's a physical presence who can hold his ground in the post, clean up misses on both ends, and give Tatum and Brown a reliable outlet when the perimeter isn't clicking. For a team that used to get worked on the glass with some regularity, this is a massive deal. In a recent win over Atlanta, the Celtics pulled down 52 boards to the Hawks 35, 52. That's not a rebounding margin, that's a demolition. Queta didn't just fill a roster hole, he filled a philosophical hole that Boston has been carrying for years.
Baseline, they're taking what looked like a knee. Neemias Queta with the two-handed slam!
The bench that nobody talks about. Here's the part of the Celtics team that genuinely makes them dangerous in a 7-game playoff series. It's not just the stars, it's the depth. It's the fact that Mazzulla can reach 10, 11, 12 deep into his rotation and find guys who know exactly what their job is and execute it without drama. Peyton Pritchard is averaging 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 5.1 assists per game. When Jaylen Brown missed time recently, Pritchard stepped up and dropped 36 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists against Atlanta. 36 from the backup point guard. Absolutely stupid production from a guy most casual fans couldn't have named 2 years ago. Sam Hauser is shooting 38.7% from 3. Against Miami, he scored 23 points on 9 of 11 shooting, including 5 of 7 from deep. 17 of those came in the first quarter, tying a Celtics franchise record for threes in a single quarter. He's not just a spot-up shooter anymore either. He's become a real defender and a capable passer, which makes him extremely difficult to take off the floor in big moments. Baylor Shireman is playing through a fractured thumb and a sprained ankle and still shooting 38.6% from 3. The man is literally injured and still knocking down shots. Luka Garza just went for 22 off the bench against Minnesota. Jordan Walsh is giving you that frenetic, physical, defensive energy that Boston can deploy in specific matchups. Derek White continues to be the defensive anchor that holds the entire structure together night after night. And then there's Hugo Gonzalez, who might be the most fascinating player on this entire roster.
Coming out party, folks. Hugo Gonzalez is here. Sorry, Cooper Flag. That's the rookie of the year.
The Celtics post a plus 17.1 net rating when he's on the floor, one of the best on-off numbers for any player in the league this season. From a late first-round rookie, he brings relentless defensive energy, smart cutting off the ball, rebounding effort, and a feel for the game that you simply cannot teach. Add in Nikola Vucevic, and this is a rotation of 10 to 11 guys who can all contribute in meaningful ways. That's not normal. That's not what most teams have. And it's a direct result of the system creating value for players that other organizations might not know what to do with. Tatum is back, and the team didn't break. Achilles recoveries are notoriously brutal. Even when a player is physically cleared to return, the confidence takes time to catch up with the body. The cutting, the planting, the explosive first step, none of that comes back overnight. And to be clear, Tatum is not at 100% yet. The full explosiveness is still working its way back. But here's the thing, he doesn't need to be at 100% to make this team genuinely fucking terrifying. Since returning, he's averaging 21.4 points, 9.9 rebounds, and 5.1 assists in just 31 minutes per game. And against Miami, in his first triple-double of the season, he went for 25 points, 18 rebounds, and 11 assists. Combined with Brown's 43, the two of them were directly involved in 105 of Boston's 147 points. That game ended 147 to 129. The Celtics scored 53 points in the first quarter alone, yet a franchise record tied for the second most first quarter points in NBA history. But here's what actually matters most about Tatum's return, and this is the thing that separates a good story from a genuinely remarkable one. The team didn't regress when he came back. That right there, that's the whole thing. The culture held, the system held, the confidence of every other player in that locker room held. Nobody shrunk. Nobody lost their role or their footing the moment the star walked back through the door. Mazzulla folded Tatum back into a structure that was already operating at a high level. And the result is a team that can beat you in multiple ways. Tatum came back to the deepest Celtics roster in years, one that was built and road tested without him. That's the actual story of this entire season. The real problem no one is talking about. Look, this video would be doing everyone a disservice if we just celebrated everything and glossed over the thing that should actually worry Boston fans as the playoffs approach. When this team runs into a defense that can genuinely crowd the three-point line, that can build a wall at the arc, take away the catch points, and force Boston into a different kind of offense, the whole system can stall out. This isn't a hypothetical, we've seen it happen. Against Oklahoma City and San Antonio combined, Boston is 1-3 this season. The Spurs have handled them twice. OKC took one earlier in the year. Those results matter. You can't just wave them away because the overall record looks good. Now, to be fair, and this is important, the last time Boston and Oklahoma City shared a floor with Tatum in the lineup, the Celtics won. And that result tells you something real about what this team looks like at full strength versus what it looked like running on fumes without its franchise player. And it's a legitimate hope is that Tatum changes this equation significantly. His ability to manufacture offense in isolation, the post-ups, the pull-up off the high ball screen, the mid-range game he's been developing for years, gives Boston something they simply do not have when he's not on the floor. You cannot wall off the arc and dare the Celtics to beat you off the dribble when Tatum is healthy, because he will. That is literally what he does for a living. So yes, the vulnerability is real, but the solution is also back on the court. How this plays out over a 7-game playoff series against the best teams in the East is the question that's going to define the next 2 months. What this all means. The gap year narrative is dead, and honestly, it deserved to die. It was built on the assumption that what made Boston good was the names on the floor. The reality is that what makes Boston good is the blueprint underneath all of it. The system, the structure, the culture that Mazzulla has been building quietly while the rest of the league wasn't paying attention. Tatum is back. Brown is playing like a legitimate top 5 player in the league. The front court is solved in a way it hasn't been in years. The bench has real proven contributors from top to bottom. And there are 10 to 12 guys in this rotation who know exactly what their job is and how to execute it when the moment calls for it. This isn't the same Boston Celtics team. It was never supposed to be. The team that won in 2024 was great. What's being built right now is different. Younger in certain spots, deeper across the board, and stress tested in a way that championship teams rarely get tested during a regular season. They got handed the hardest possible version of this year, the version where everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and they passed. Whether Mazzulla ball can hold up over 7-game playoff series against the absolute best the Eastern Conference has to offer, that's the only question left. And if you enjoyed watching this Celtics story unfold as much as I did breaking it down, you already know that's a question worth sticking around to see answered.